In this video, I'm going to attempt to narrate my recent trip to Quoc and explain some of the YouTube videos that I've been putting up the past couple days. This is a bit of an experiment for this channel. I've not really narrated travel stories on here before, so just by way of a quick background or explaining what I'm doing here. I have for years been keeping travel logs or travel stories on my personal weblog for almost as long as I've been blogging. So you can see this one here goes back to 2007. I write up a description. There's some YouTube videos embedded in here. And it's just something I've been doing with places I've been visiting, is taking pictures and videos and writing up a description. The past few years, I've shifted away from doing the pictures and the text and have been doing it only on YouTube video for a couple of reasons. One reason is I've just been busier now with busy at the job and with two kids. So it takes a long time to write all this stuff out. Second reason is Google Photos. When you upload stuff on the Blogger, it gets stored in Google Photos, and Google Photos has changed their storage policy recently to make it more restrictive. So I've just been doing it all on YouTube the past year or so. But this past trip to Quoc, I have a lot of videos that perhaps don't make complete sense out of context, and I wanted to just maybe give a quick explanation of them. I was initially thinking, as I was tossing this idea around in my head this week, that I would write up a brief description to go with each video. But then I thought, well, instead of writing a description, maybe I'll just make a video and narrate a description, talk through the videos. The dangers of doing this, well, sorry, let me back up. The attraction of doing it on video. I mean, on one hand, it just makes sense to have a video narrating the videos instead of written text that maybe half the people aren't going to see who click on the videos. But the other thing is, it just takes me a long time to put my thoughts into writing. It's a lot quicker just to turn on the video camera and talk. Although the disadvantage of talking unscripted is I tend to ramble, lose my train of thought, get off topic. Hopefully that won't happen too much on this video, but we'll see how it goes. Anyways, during the Christmas and New Year's holiday, I traveled from Ho Chi Minh City, where I've been living and working, to Phu Quoc Island. Now, this is actually the second time I've been to Phu Quoc Island. I went to Phu Quoc Island back in 2020, and I didn't make a YouTube video of it at the time, although I've since put a YouTube video. I made a YouTube video later going through the photos and video that we had on Google Photos album, just because I I don't know, it was bothering me that I had never documented this trip on the blog. So, but at the time I made this trip, I wasn't making travel videos for it. But so this is the second trip to Phu Quoc. Phu Quoc Island is, you can see it's an island here between Vietnam and Cambodia. It actually is closer to Cambodia. So here's the Cambodian border. Here's the Vietnamese border. And when I lived in Cambodia, and I lived in Cambodia for 4 years before moving to Vietnam, occasionally I would hear the Cambodians saying that they thought that the island should belong to Cambodia instead of belonging to Vietnam. But you know, when you go there, the population is all Vietnamese. So, you know, short of resettling the whole population, it wouldn't make sense to hand it over to Cambodia. There is on Wikipedia, if you go to the history of Quoc, a whole description of the history of the dispute between France and Vietnam and Cambodia over who was controlling the island. Um, Sorry. So we flew into Fukuoka, and my wife planned the whole trip, which involved going to a lot of different places. I could never have planned all this myself. I'm terrible at planning it, but she did. We flew into Fukuoka Airport, which is where's the airport? Here's the airport. And then from the airport, we went to Ocean Bay Resort, which is over here. And I have video of that. Oh, sorry. Just a note on the video. The videos I filmed on the phone, and they're not great. Uh, I don't know why, but for whatever reason, I can never keep the camera steady when I'm holding the phone. Phones, they're not easy to keep steady, are they? When you're holding them with one hand, it's very easy for them to shake around. Plus, I was carrying the baby for much of this trip, and so the baby was reaching up and trying to grab the camera. So I'm trying it's some of these videos, the camera's being jostled by the baby. Plus, I'm doing this trip with my family, so I'm trying to keep up with them, and I didn't have a lot of time to film at my own pace. So, all of which is to say, apologies for the bad quality of a lot of these videos. Hopefully, they give you at least a little bit of a sense of what it was like at these various places. But if watching them gives you a headache or you can't be bothered to watch them, don't worry about it. We're still friends. Uh, Sorry, the video I want of Ocean Bay is not lined up in my tabs. So let me just access it for you here. This was an absolutely beautiful resort to just chill out in. As you can tell from this video, even though the camera is shaking around a bit. Um, and the nice thing about this area of the world, and by this area of the world, I mean Vietnam, but also Cambodia and Thailand, is these places are affordable to go to. I don't, back in the Western Hemisphere, if you were to go to a place like this in America somewhere, I don't know how much it would set you back. It would be well out of my price range. But in Vietnam, you can easily afford these places. Now, the clientele at these places it's an interesting mix. There are backpackers who go to the pool and the beach with the intention of just drinking as much as possible. So they get up in the morning and go straight to the bar and are just drinking all day. And these places are equipped to service that. There's a bar right by the pool and trying to serve as many drinks as possible. But they also have families there with young kids, and me and my family, of course, are in the latter category. So I mean, it always seems to me like there was a potential for conflict between the two groups, and yet I, in all these places I've been to, I've never seen conflict. Everybody seems to just be chill. Uh, when I was in Fukuoka 2 years ago, that was when the borders were locked down for coronavirus. So, I mean, without getting too much into the backstory of coronavirus in Vietnam, uh, during 2020, they had shut down their borders. They had locked down everything and had the virus under control. And once the virus was under control, they reopened things for domestic traveling. So when I went 2 years ago, it was all local domestic Vietnamese tourists and also expats, people like myself who were living in Vietnam teaching English, who were traveling, but not international tourists. On this most recent trip, it was almost all international tourists. So people who were from Europe, or people who Europeans who were living or working in Hong Kong or Macau, who were coming in. So it was a lot more international clientele. Um, so tourism seems to be recovering from COVID. The borders in Vietnam just opened fully, I think, back in March. So we spent 3 days there. And then after that, we left to go. There's a huge national park in Quoc that my wife had wanted to travel through, but the driver of the car actually told us it because there are military bases stationed in here. Uh, they don't. It's not open to hiking, and apparently foreigners especially are not. They don't like foreigners to get out of the car, so we could drive through it. And then there was a fishing village at the end of the national park that the driver recommended. My wife tells me she's sure he's getting a commission from the people who run this. Uh, but it's you can see it's like a traditional Vietnamese fishing village, and you walk out on this pier and then buy seafood out there. Um, and I was traveling with my parents, who were a little bit intimidated about walking out on this rickety pier, which was, I mean, not only was it a rickety wooden pier, but it was half under construction when we walked out to it. But we all did it, walking very slowly and carefully, and we got there and we were able to eat some seafood there. So yeah, it was an interesting little excursion. Yeah, here they are all. And then from there, we went to Grand World. Now, this is over here on the island. And yeah, this place was interesting. As you can see from the video, it's kind of like a faux European town. Like it's built up to resemble, I don't know, 18th century Venice or 18th century Versailles. Uh, and for whatever reason, these type of fake European towns are popular in Asia. I encountered them when I lived in Japan, Houston Boss in Nagasaki. There's another one in Vietnam, at Bana Hill in Da Nang, which is kind of a similar style. Just building up a little fake European town for. Uh, I guess there's a lot of romance of 18th century Europe in Asia. Um, but what's interesting about Grand World is this whole development is very recent. I had a coworker who was telling me he was in Fukuoka 2 years ago, and none of it was there. It's just been built up within the past 2 years, and it's being done by a company in Vietnam, which is the Vin Company, or sometimes known as Vin Group. And yeah, this company is a little bit strange. They build absolutely everything, and they build these like communities. So people will live in a apartment built by this company and send their kids to a private school, which is run by this company. And there's a hospital in the complex, which is run by this company. So it's, Vin apartments, Vin schools, Vin hospitals. And it strikes us Westerners as being like a little bit weird and cultish, or like, a little bit big brotherish. Uh, but everything that this company does is their quality is well respected in Vietnam. Um, my dad actually was vaguely familiar with this businessman. Apparently, he's like the richest man in Vietnam, Mr. Vin, I guess. And my dad was familiar with him because his car, he owned like a really expensive car, which was in one of my dad's car magazines, I guess. Um, so this Grand World Place, it is massive. It just goes on and on and on. I only captured a portion of it here in this video, but it goes all the way to the beach, and half of these places are empty, which wouldn't, I guess, be surprising. Half of these storefronts are empty. Not surprising because it just popped up over the last 2 years, but it looks like they're planning on filling them all out eventually with different stores renting out the spaces. The other thing about this place is it was just way too loud. So they'd be blasting music from these speakers at a level that hurt your ears walking around. And we actually were staying at a hotel which was right overlooking this fake canal. And we checked in and we realized that they were blasting that music, and we thought, oh no, because when you look at pictures of this place online, you don't notice the music blasting. Um, now the music wouldn't be blasting constantly. It was they would just like play some music for like 5 minutes, and then the music would be off for a half hour, and then they play the music for 5 minutes. It was just like that these little theme songs that they had going, but it was just way too loud every time they played it. Um, and I don't know. I mean, it'll be interesting to see what happens with this place. In in Vietnam, they do tend to blast music way too loud all the time, for whatever reason. So, maybe the Vietnamese tourists were really like this, and maybe some of the Asian tourists were really like this. Or maybe the foreign tourists won't like it, and maybe they'll moderate their volume at some point as they learn how to attract foreign tourists. We'll see. I mean, we'll see. I didn't like it, but we'll see what the majority of the tourists like or don't like. Um, Now, this Grand World was just part of this whole complex of stuff that was set up by the Vin Group. The other thing adjoining it, well, sorry, not directly adjoining it, was Vin Safari, which was a zoo, and it was kind of half zoo, half mock safari. So you could walk around the zoo exhibits, and then there's a safari bus that took you through. Now, my parents were really impressed by the safari bus, and it was really impressive. I again, I think these types of things are popular in Asia. I had been to like a little safari park like this when I lived in Japan. Um, Actually, there was one of these right in the town I lived in for 3 years in Japan, in Ajimumachi in Oita Prefecture. Um, and I wonder a little bit if they get away with this kind of stuff more in Asia because of, lack of a culture of animal rights advocacy. Not not that I know for a fact that these animals are being mistreated, but I just wonder. I don't think they're being mistreated per se, but just clustered together in these groups. I wonder if there would be more of a pushback to that back home, which maybe is why these safari parks are more popular in Asia. I don't know. But you, you get in the bus and you're able to. I mean, one of the things my parents pointed out is it it wasn't just like a zebra or a giraffe. It was like a herd of zebras and a herd of giraffes and a herd of rhinos that you went by in the bus. So it was just really impressive in that respect. And there was a bird sanctuary that was sorry, let me see if I can move this around. Oh yeah, we saw a couple rhinos fighting, um, squaring off against each other. Yeah, a bird sanctuary that was really impressive. And yeah, again, this Ving Group thing, when they construct something, they really go all out. And then the other thing was Vin Wonders, which is like their version of Disneyland. Um, and sorry, that because I'm recording my screen, the YouTube videos are loading up a little bit slower. But here we go. Um, so it's like the Magic Kingdom, complete with a big fairy tale castle right at the beginning, and a main street, just like Disneyland would have. And we all thought that this was going to be like a really cheesy ripoff of Disneyland. And to a certain extent, it is a ripoff of Disneyland, but it was really well done. For the most part, I mean, you didn't get the sense that it was Disneyland cheap. Um, you got the sense that it was an equivalent to Disneyland. And there was like a Fantasyland area where they had rides based on fairy tale characters, like this is Sinbad the Sailor over here. And there was Aladdin and Thumbelina, and yeah, and then there was also the. I mean, it was just like Disneyland, where they have the Adventureland with the Old West, and they have a Norse Viking land. Um, but yeah, oh yeah, I mean, I guess the genius of this place is all these characters are in the public domain. Aladdin, Sinbad the Sailor, Beauty and the Beast. Those original stories, Rumpelstiltskin, those original stories aren't owned by Disney. Just the Disney version of them, of course, is owned by Disney. But there's nothing to stop another company from doing a fantasy land just based off the public domain characters. And I think I don't think Vin Wonders is the first company to realize this. I think there are a lot of other amusement parks that have tried to make use of these public domain fairy tale characters, but done really well here. And no lines for anything or almost anything. You wanted to go on a ride, you just rocked up. I mean, look at this. No lines. You just rock up and you get on the ride for all of this. And I was saying to my wife, I said, she's never been to Disney World or Disneyland. I said, back home, this would be like a half hour, 45-minute wait just to get on the ride. Um, And yeah, they had all these different lands, and we didn't see half of it. Um, this and partly this was because we had kids, so we were moving a little bit slower. But the day ended, and we had only seen half of the lands there was to see here. Now, there were a few areas where I thought it was a little bit inferior to American amusement parks, like this water ride here is you know the type you go around and you get wet from various things. And sorry, let me back this up just a little bit if it will let me. As you're going through, yeah, right here, a nozzle kind of sprays water out from you, out at you, and you get wet here. But I think this is the kind of thing that if this was done at Disneyland or Disney World or another amusement park back home, it wouldn't be just water spraying out of a nozzle. They would have integrated it so that it felt more like the part of the natural landscape. Yeah, so it would have been like it would have been like a waterfall coming down, or there would have been more. There would have been more of a landscaping effort done here, and the water spraying out at you would have been integrated into the landscape. They had that at some of the rides, but not so much the water rides. But then the aquarium was just amazing. My dad said it was better than any aquarium he'd seen back in the U.S. It was huge. Uh, you walk through a whole bunch of different exhibits. Oh, by the way, another thing. By this point in the trip, I'm running out of storage space on my phone, so I'm trying to do real short videos of everything, like just turn it around, do a panorama, and then turn it off. But there was just so much to see. I kept constantly turning the phone back on, uh, and then yeah, you get to the part where there are all these tunnels where you're underneath this huge aquarium, and you can look up at the fish. Uh, so yeah, I mean, very impressive Vin World. For a place that just as I mean it'll be interesting to see what happens with this area in the future, because when they constructed this place, they are obviously looking to make it a big tourist destination, and it's a place that I had never heard of before. My coworkers had never heard of it before. Like you've never heard of this place before, right? So I think they they will be looking to make a name for themselves in the future and attract more tourists. At the moment, there's hardly anybody there. But I mean, who knows? Maybe in 10 years, this place will be very recognizable as an international tourist destination. We'll see what happens with it, and they're still building it up. Um, the music is too loud in places here again. And they were playing pop songs everywhere. So there were a couple places in this video that got copyrighted claimed because there are all these popular pop songs. I was surprised actually it was only two places. I mean, actually, I think it was like five places, but it was only two places that caused a problem. And YouTube gave me the option of muting those places in the video. So if there's a couple places in this video without sound, that's because there were pop songs playing that got caught by YouTube's copyright claim. Uh, oh, and then the teddy bear museum. This was actually part of Grand World, but I mean it's right in Grand World, but it's also a separate museum. So I put this into a separate video. This was bizarre. I mean, I was not expecting to see teddy bears with breasts. when I went into this place. I don't know what I was expecting from a teddy bear museum, but I was not, yeah, I was not expecting to see a teddy bear with snakes coming out of its head. Just really weird. But yeah, that's the teddy bear museum part of Grand World. Okay. Then we went to the other part of the island next, down here. Where this is there's this part of the island is developed by Sun World, which is a different company than the Ving Group, but developed in a remarkably similar style. So this is also like a mock Italian town that they've developed, and it's also a lot of empty buildings that I assume they're looking to fill up within the next few years. I mean, if all these properties, if all this stuff that they've been building fills up, I don't know how the infrastructure of Quoc Island is going to be able to handle this. They're going to need a much bigger airport, and I don't know. I'm not an urban planner, but they have a cable car, which is some kind of record, like the highest cable car or the longest cable car over water, um, which is quite impressive when you ride in it. We did this the last time I was here as well, but it takes you over these islands here, smaller islands, and takes you down to Han Tom Island, where there is a water park. Now, the water park is a lot of fun, or it looks like it would be a lot of fun. This is the second time I've been to it now, and both times I feel like I didn't really get a chance to fully enjoy it because I was taking care of kids. The I haven't really had fun at a water park like this since I was, I don't know, 15 or something. So the part of me just wanted to run and go in all the water slides, but I was instead at more of the kiddie pools, taking care of the kids. And because it's a water park, I got a little bit of video footage at this when we first arrived here, and then for the whole rest of the day, my phone was locked up in the locker because you don't want to get your phone wet while you're on the water rides. So I did not really do this place justice in terms of capturing it on video. I mean, this is the buffet that we had at the beginning of the day, but in terms of the water rides themselves, I didn't really capture them on video. But you can Google it to I'm sure there's pictures of it on the internet. And then we spent the last couple of days of the trip at another resort. This is the same resort we had stayed at 2 years ago. And once again, you know, you may be looking at this video and saying, "Oh, geez, that must be terribly expensive," but it's not. If when you're in this area of the world, these resorts are affordable. It's one of the nice things about Southeast Asia. Um, so yeah, that's my little rambling narrative of the trip to Phuket that we took. So yeah, hopefully maybe this works out better than writing it all out. Like I said, it's an experiment, and I'll link to all the videos down below. I should have said that at the beginning of the video, but I'll put everything in the description down below. And that's my narrative of the trip.